Hi, everybody. Welcome to Transformation Talks. Today I am talking with Shelley Chapman, emotional wellness expert and food relationship coach at eatrelatelove.com. And you can also find her at bodyfoodfreedomformula.com. And of course, all that information is in her bio, and you'll be able to find her really easily. Thanks for being here, Shelley.
Thank you for having me. And by the way, it's bodyfoodfreedom.com. So yes.
Oh, bodyfoodfreedom.com. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to dive right in because I want to get the meat of what we're talking about today. And you started out with an eating disorder, not started out in life, but started out sort of on this journey.
Right.
With an eating disorder. Can you talk about what life was like for you when you were in the middle of that?
Sure. And actually, let's take it back before. So I started out a foodie, really and truly. Like when I came out the womb, I've always loved food. I've always had a different relationship with food compared to my peers. I remember being younger and going to birthday parties, and I was always so excited because I could not wait to see what type of cake they were going to have and what the snacks were going to be. So I've always been in love with food. And essentially, that love turned into a sort of crutch and a comfort when I was going through a really tough time with my parents' divorce. I was a teenager, and my parents were getting a divorce, and that was really hard for me because that was my family unit. I grew up an only child, so it was me, my mom, and my dad, and then there wasn't my mom and my dad anymore, you know? So that was hard, and I didn't know how to deal with it, and so I turned to food. Like I remember coming home from school when I was a teenager, and my parents would still be at work. They wouldn't get home till maybe an hour or an hour and a half or so after I got home. And I would just eat, you know, anything in the cabinet, like Cheetos, Oreos, whatever it was, whatever was left over. And I just remember eating and eating and eating. And I didn't know at the time, but I just ate, you know. And it wasn't until I got to college that I realized something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't name it. I just knew that the relationship that I had with food had sort of, it just snowballed into this thing that I couldn't quite grasp, but yet I still craved it, I still needed it, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't until September 11th, which we're actually right on the anniversary of, 2001. I was an exchange student at NYU, so I was there when the towers came down. And being there at that time and being around so much pain and so much grief and so much horror, even though I wasn't personally affected by the towers, when you're in an environment, I mean, the entire of New York City was just solemn. It was just dark. It was just gray. It was just heavy. And you have no choice but to get in touch with your own self, you know? So that's when it sort of hit me, and I said, okay, I need help. Something's wrong here. And I started going to counseling, and I was like, oh, there's a label for this. I'm a compulsive overeater. Okay. But even that wasn't enough because they put me into a group counseling session with other women who were suffering from disordered eating. And there were quite a few women who were suffering from anorexia and bulimia. That bulimia was very common. And I didn't feel like I was being talked to. I was the only compulsive overeater in the group, and I was also the only Black woman in the group. And so there was something that just wasn't connecting. And the way it was dealt with, it felt very like a psychosis that was just being diagnosed by itself, and there wasn't enough integration of the entire person, right? There wasn't enough of a woman's story that was integrated into the therapy. And so for me, I was just like, yeah, you know, making a food journal is helpful, but what's the root of this? You know, like you're helping me while I'm in it, but I need to get to the root of it because I don't want to be in it and then having a plan while I'm in it. I want to be out of it. I want to be free of what felt like a bondage to this food and to my emotions and not understanding like what the root of it was. So, you know, I used what I could out of the therapy, but after a while it wasn't enough. So I did it for 2 months. And then after that, I just started looking at food in a different way, and I started looking at different lifestyles. I started looking at vegetarianism. I was vegetarian for a while. I started looking at veganism. I was vegan for a while. And yet you can still be a compulsive overeater or an emotional eater or bulimic eater being vegan or vegetarian. And so that didn't matter neither, right? And I know for a lot of women that I work with now, they are thinking that's the answer because there's the benefit of weight loss. But weight loss isn't the root of the problem. I always say that your best body lives. It's already inside of you, but you just have to allow it. And the best way to allow it is to remove all the barriers that you have. That's your emotions, that's your pain, that's whatever struggles are guiding you or leading you towards food in the first place. So that's how the journey began.
So it's amazing that you had that kind of awareness, that you really understood you needed to get to the root of it. So what did transformation look like for you? What did that shift, digging into and finding the root of it, what did that look like?
It looked like a lot of up and down. I remember, thinking like, oh, okay, perfect. Like once I get to the root of it, I'll be fine. And it looked like me still having compulsive overeating. It looked like me having this sort of like roller coaster, this cycle where it's like, I'll be good, so to speak, right? So I'm having a normal food, and then something happens, because something always will happen. This is life, right?
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that everything that happens to us is something that we've called upon ourselves to learn from. And until you fully understand that, you can't really juice the experience for what it is. So it looked like that. It definitely looked like, 5 years into my own healing process, still finding myself like, at the refrigerator being like, you know what, I just need these brownies. I don't care. I just want the brownies. And so it also looked like a lot of crying. It looked like a lot of journaling. It looked like a lot of my weight going up and down. It looked like me experimenting with food a lot, like thinking, okay, well, maybe it's not vegan, maybe it's not vegetarian, maybe it's raw, maybe it's not raw, maybe it's juicing. Like maybe I should just eat to the point where I am now, and I'm very comfortable with it. I'm a flexitarian. I have a primarily vegetarian, vegan-based diet because I know that my body feels the best when I eat that way, not because any other hoopla that's written out there, not because it makes you lose, none of that, just because I feel the best when. But I also know that I love chicken wings and I like cheese pizza, right? So I eat that as well. So I don't necessarily call it a balance. I don't believe in balance so much. It's just harmony. I've learned what I love, and love is an acronym that I created to help feed myself and help feed other women. And so the L starts for life, eating food that gives you life, and food that doesn't give you life is like Thanksgiving dinner, right? We all partake in Thanksgiving dinner, including myself. You know how lethargic you feel after. You just want to pass out, So I can't eat like that every day. But there are special occasions, sure, but I eat food that gives me life. And then the O stands for eating food that's obedient to me. We spend so much time as women trying to be obedient to food, following this diet and this regimen and this lifestyle. And, I can't do this. And it's like, no, food should be obedient to you. When it enters your body, food's purpose is to serve you, to give you energy, to restore your body, to give you nutrients. If it's not obedient when it enters, it doesn't need to enter your body at all. And one of those things is bread, for example. Like I love bread, but I know that when I eat it, I get super bloated and uncomfortable and gassy, and no one wants to walk around. I can't even feel sexy, right? So minimize. And then the V stands for vibes. When you look at a dish, I'm a big visual eater, as I would believe most people are. But when you look at a dish, what does it tell you? Like, does it vibe with you? There's a test that you can do to find out if you're allergic to certain foods, where you can hold the food in one hand and hold your hand out and do a strength test. And if your arm gives away, then that food doesn't vibe with you. There's something in it that your body doesn't respond to, so you probably shouldn't eat it. And then lastly, the E in love, eating foods that you love, is energy. Again, energy. So if it takes away energy from you, then it's probably not the best for you. So when people hear me say, eat what you love, they're like, Shelley, I can't do that. I love ham, French fries, and hot dogs. And I'm like, listen, you can't eat what you love. This is the acronym, you know? And
Right.
once falls into that, it's okay. And I'm not saying, again, Thanksgiving time comes around, the holidays are coming up, one of my favorite times of the year. I love to bake. I have a serious sweet tooth. I'm not saying don't partake, but just understand your body. And you talk about transformation. What did it look like? A huge part of it was reconnecting to my body again. I mean, I spent time out of my body, not connecting with my emotions. And the sooner I started to heal my relationship with my father specifically, because that was the relationship that was most damaged during the divorce. Yeah, but I was a daddy's girl growing up. And so, you know, having that relationship damage was really hard for me. And I spent a lot of time denying that it hurt, you know, and it affected not only my relationship with food, but it also affected my relationship with love, my relationship with other men, my relationship to be my ability to be like fully present in a relationship. So as a result, you know, I didn't, while I dated, I didn't allow myself to get close to men because I didn't allow myself to get close to me. And when I started taking, like, not only like looking at the emotion, but like wrapping myself in it and feeling what it felt like, then I was able to enjoy food again, enjoy my body again, enjoy whoever I was dating again. Like I started actually to be able to build like solid partnerships and relationships with men, you know, boyfriends at the time. So that's what it looked like. Like, that's what transformation looks like. And people think that transformation is this linear thing. It's like, oh, all right, so I already got it. I got to the root of the problem. Now I know it's a problem. Knowing and being are two different things. You can know something, but until you fully integrate it into your being, I'm talking like your DNA and in the cellular level, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it really takes you to say, okay, I know this now. Now I'm going to take the steps every day. And it's a choice. It's definitely a moment to moment choice to say, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be a woman that's healed. I'm going to be a woman that loves herself unconditionally. I'm going to be a woman that looks at food and doesn't feel fear, right? But instead, like, sees the nourishment and the love in it. So yeah, that's what transformation is.
Cool. I love that you talk about your right body being inside of you, and you just need to clear everything away so it can come out, because that was exactly my experience when I changed my relationship to food through my grief. It was really so powerful because I felt myself. It was almost like there was another me living inside, and I knew that I was going to clear the space for it to come out. And it took about 1.5 years. But that body came out, and there was no dieting and no like crazy over exercising, and just lifestyle and rebuilding my relationship with my body.
Absolutely.
Where it was at. Yeah. So when I saw your work, it really resonated with me because I love that you have the psychology background and the food background from your own personal experience, and you were also a personal chef, and so you have all of that tying together, and you can really help people get to what's underneath.
Thank you. Yes, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, a lot of women don't believe it, but it's there, and I'm glad that you have the experience. Like, your body already exists. You don't have to do anything to make it appear or happen. You just have to be who you truly are, not to scare you, not to hurt you, not the fearful you, because your body is so beautiful. It can't survive in a climate that's full of fear, that's always, you know, hurt or emotionally raw in that sense, right? Yeah. But when you really start to be who you are and just deal with yourself, just deal with yourself and accept what is, not trying to change anything, then that body is like, oh, I can come out and play now? Awesome. I've been waiting to come out and play.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such an exciting process.
That's it.
And sometimes it takes hitting that bottom. Like for you, it was September 11th. For me, it was my son's stillbirth. You know, it really takes hitting that place where we can't ignore our emotions anymore to want to make that change.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So if you could wave your magic wand and change anything about the world, what would it be?
It would be, I'd wave a wand on the shift for people to take more personal responsibility for themselves. I think a lack of personal responsibility leads to a lack of growth, and it leads to a lot of blame and a lot of just staying stagnant where we are. And I've seen this a lot with women that I work with. And a lot of people, you know, don't know. We grew up in a system where you can sue anybody for anything, right? Like you burnt your tongue on McDonald's coffee because you drank coffee that was hot, but yet it's McDonald's fault. So, you know, I really think that when you start to take responsibility for yourself, your world shifts. When your world shifts, like it affects the other worlds around you, which affects the greater world. So yeah, that's the first thing I would do.
I love that. Yeah, personal responsibility is a big one. Not playing victim anymore.
Exactly. It makes a huge difference in your life and in the lives of everyone else's that you touch.
Yeah. Okay, what brings you the most joy these days?
Dancing. Oh my gosh. Dancing. It's interesting. So we talk about transformation. I recently moved to New York, and I was living in Atlanta before, traveling back and forth to New York and Atlanta, New York and Atlanta. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to make New York home. So I moved to New York, and it wasn't the easiest move. It was actually kind of like rough, right? I wasn't expecting so many bumps. And my father passed away in January, and then I got out of my last relationship in last fall. And so this 2011, 2012 was just like, it was many things. And emotionally, it was definitely like a downward spiral for me. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is one of the first times I can remember in such a long time that I've gone through something like a series of so many dramatic events, and food wasn't what I asked for, right? Like I didn't turn to food. So one of the things I've always done, I've always danced ever since I was little. And I hadn't danced, and I moved here, and in July I went to a party, and I was talking to this girl, and she was telling me about this place where she goes, and she's like me, she dances all these different dances, and I was like, oh, really? I have to go. And she took me, and I have been going every week. That is like my freedom. That is my life. So I go dancing every week and just get it in. I love it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that connection with the body is so important.
Definitely. And dance does that. And this particular dance is called Kizomba. It's out of Angola. And it's a very sensual, beautiful dance. It's like tango and bachata and zouk had a baby and made love. And then like, this is it. It's just, I just love it. But it's helped me so much through the transition. Like literally after I started dancing, you build a community through that. And it's definitely made my transition to New York a lot easier as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I love hearing that. And then quickly, just what's one fun thing you can share that makes you uniquely you, something that people don't know about you?
Something people don't know about me. Oh my goodness. These questions are always hard. I'm like, I don't know.
Okay, here's another one then. What do you eat when nobody's looking? Like, what's your favorite go-to?
Okay, so recently I just discovered the joys of so I've always had a sweet tooth, right? So had you asked me this question like 2 years ago, I'd be like chocolate. I literally have learned to bake a chocolate cake for one. That's how serious it is. So I love it. But I guess, I don't know, when I hit 30, I'll be 32 in November. Woohoo! When I hit 30, I started craving more savory, more salty stuff. And I was like, this is interesting. My taste buds are changing. So my latest thing is like a slice of really strong cheese, Fontina, Manchego, whatever, pick one, on a nice crunchy, thin cracker with a piece of a date. Oh my God. Ooh. That combination is so yummy. Like that's my latest crack right now. I love it.
Nice. That's beautiful. I'm going to have to try that. I'll get some goat cheese.
Oh my goodness.
Some sheep cheese. Yeah.
Lovely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Shelley, for being here today. And again, everything, if people want to find you, it's all going to be in your bio on the site. And thanks again.
And thank you for having me. And I just want to talk a little bit about the Body Food Freedom Formula
Yeah.
at bodyfood.com. So what we were talking about earlier, you know, what does transformation look like? So the Body Food Freedom Program is essentially that. It is a self-guided program with videos, with a full workbook that you can download, as well as like some audio guides. And a lot of great, a lot of great little comic pictures throughout the workbook to really add some light, shed some light and some humor on this journey, because it can be so heavy and it can be so trying. And you know, as women, we need to learn to laugh at ourselves, to be with ourselves, to be okay where we are. And that program is not a diet. It's not full of recipes that you're like, oh, I can drink green juice. That's not what this is. This program gets to the root of who you are, where you are, and where you want to be. And so there's a great combination of like, you know, psychology with emotional freedom techniques and this sort of this merge of really getting to the root of the problem, right? So we're not dancing around it. So I really appreciate the work that I put into it, as well as the work that I've seen women get out of it and the way they're shifting and transforming in their lives. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And can people still download a free chapter of that if they want to check it out?
Yep. The first chapter is free. Definitely.
Awesome.
Always be there so you can test it out. And if you like it, love it, then please definitely invest in it. Invest in yourself and allow your better body to come forward.
Yeah. And they can sign up for your newsletter at eatrelatelove.com, right?
.com.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect. All right. Well, have a beautiful day. Thanks, Shelley.
You too. You're welcome.